Right, this video is on directed numbers. If you don't already know, directed numbers are simply the numbers with a direction, positive or negative direction, just like you'd see on a number line. You see them in your bank accounts, positive being good, negative being you're in debt, obviously. You see them on a golf course, temperatures, above and below sea level, etc., etc. So we use them every day all around us. And once we follow a couple of key rules, they are actually quite easy to understand and follow. In this one, we're adding and subtracting some directed numbers, but I'm not actually going to start on those. I'm going to start on multiplication and division, because if we can follow just 4 simple rules with our multiplication and division, we can then use them when we're adding and subtracting directed numbers. So the rules are as so. If I've got a positive number and I multiply it by another positive number, my answer will always be a positive number. There's no big deal in that one, really. We've always done it anytime we do 5 times 6. It's a positive times a positive, so we end up with a positive number. And what I'll say now is this is exactly the same for division. I'm not going to write down the division sign. It's just going to get messy. But if you're dividing a positive by a positive, it does end up being positive again. If we've got a negative multiplied by a negative, our answer will be a positive answer. And again, that's the same for division also. If I have got a positive number and I multiply it by a negative number, my answer will end up being the negative. Fine, if I switch these two around, if it had been a negative multiplied by a positive, it's actually the same thing, so you end up with a negative. Now you might be able to see there is some commonality between the top two and getting a positive and the bottom two getting a negative. If the signs are the same, so here I've got 2 positives, it'll be a positive answer. Here I've got 2 negatives, so they are the same, I end up with a positive answer. If the signs are different at all, you will end up with a negative answer when you multiply or when you divide. So this is just for multiplication and division. And they are the rules to remember. So if we jump onto a question, we have got 5 multiplied by a minus 3. First of all, this 5, we're just lazy about putting it in there. That is a positive 5. Put it in if you need to, but you do not have to. When I'm doing these questions, I like to do it in 2 steps. First step will be just focus on the digits. So we've got a 5 multiplied by a 3. That's going to be 15. No big deal in that. So put it into your answer. Now we've got a positive multiplied by a negative. If we look back up here, positive multiplied by negative is a negative answer, so it's going to be a negative 15. So 2 steps in that. Focus on the digits first, or the numbers, and then your second step is to deal with those signs, because this first step, very easy to do, no doubt you can all do it. Second step is that new bit that we need to get used to. On to the second one. This time I'm dividing, and it's a negative divided by a negative. So step 1, I'm just going to focus on the digits. It's a 6 divided by 3. 6 divided by 3 is a 2. Step 2, which is your new learning. Negative divided by a negative. And as I said earlier, division is going to be the same for multiplication, okay? Those rules are going to be the same for division. So a negative and a negative here will give us a positive answer. So positive 2. You don't have to put in the positive, you can leave it blank if you wish, but I'll put it in there. So it's going to be a positive 2. Next question. So step 1 is going to be just focus on the digits of the numbers. So it's 40 divided by 5. 40 divided by 5 is an 8. Step 2 is a negative divided by a positive, and that will give me a negative answer. Let's do one more and then you can try for yourselves. Step 1, it's going to be 3 multiplied by 8, which is 24. Step 2 is a negative multiplied by a positive. And if you recall, negative multiplied by positive is going to be a negative answer, so negative 24. I would suggest you pause the video, think about these remaining 6 questions yourself, and then hit play and see if you've got them right. Okay, 18 divided by minus 2. It is 18 divided by 2 is a 9. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, so it's a negative 9 on this one. Up top we've got minus 4, minus 3. So I'll break it down into our steps. Step 1, 4 multiplied by 3, which is 12. Step 2, we've got a negative multiplied by a negative this time. If you recall, the signs are the same, we're going to end up with a positive answer. Negative times a negative. So that's a positive 12. And very quickly through the remaining couple of questions. 42 divided by 6 is 7. A negative divided by a positive will be a negative. So there's your minus 7. 8 multiplied by 6 is 48. A negative multiplied by a negative, give me a positive answer. 49 divided by minus 7, well it's 49 divided by 7 first, which is a 7. Positive divided by negative is a negative, so there you've got a negative 7. And finally we have minus 8 multiplied by 7, so 8 times 7 is 56. And now I look at the signs, so it's minus, or a negative I should say, multiplied by a positive, which is a negative answer. Hopefully you all understand that now. There is one final question we can look at here. What do you get if you add 2 multiplied by minus 4 and minus 8 multiplied by 9? Well, we've got an addition here, we've got a multiplication and another multiplication. So I'm going to do the multiplications first. 2 multiplied by minus 4 is minus 8. Minus 8 multiplied by 9, well 8 times 9 is 72. And a negative multiplied by a positive is a negative. It asks me to add the two of these together. So that's what it looks like now. This is what we're going to look at next. The way I like to think about this is a bit like algebra. If I have two letters next to each other like this, what it actually means is it is A multiplied by B. They are multiplying each other. We're just lazy about putting in that sign, that multiplication sign. Now when it comes to what I've got here in the middle, we've got a positive and a negative, or if you want to think of it, a positive and a subtraction next to each other. So what I like to think of this is, and I go back to the rules we looked at earlier, it is this positive multiplying this negative. If you remember back here, a positive multiplied by a negative would give us a negative. So actually, adding a negative is the same as just subtracting. So that positive and negative combine to be a negative. Minus 8 minus 72 will actually end up being a minus 80, which is what we're going to look at next. But it basically is, if you've got a minus 8, so think about it in temperatures, you want to go down another 72, so it's on that same side of the number line, same side of 0, it's getting colder, so it's going to be a minus 80. Similarly, if you're in golf, if you're lucky enough to shoot a round of minus 80, that's pretty good. But you're getting better every time. It's minus 8, you're heading away from 0, minus 70 times 2 places, so you end up at the minus 80. Which brings us nicely on to addition and subtraction. I'm going to quickly note down our rules again. So we're saying a positive and a positive together like that, multiplying each other, gives you a positive answer. Negative multiplied by negative is a positive. Positive multiplied by negative is equal to a negative. Negative multiplied by a positive is equal to a negative. Like so. Just in case we're remembering those rules. So, on the first one, these two signs here in the middle, that's what makes it messy. So what we'll do is we'll circle them and just focus on those two signs. So when I've got a positive and a negative, and thinking of them as multiplying each other, just the signs. Digits aren't multiplying each other, the signs are. So positive multiplied by a negative gives us a negative. So actually these two combine to be a negative. Rewrite it if it helps you. So actually what we're doing here is minus 7, take away another 2. On your number line, it's essentially starting at minus 2, and you want to go negative direction 7 times, so you end up eventually at a minus 9, and minus 9 is our answer. For the second one, again we've got different signs in here, so we'd circle that. We've got a negative and a positive next to each other, so we think of them as multiplying those signs. Negative multiplied by positive is a negative, so what we've got here is 2 minus 9. So on this one you could start at 2 on your number line. You want to go negative direction because it's take away 9. Negative direction 9 places. So eventually, as you count them down through the 0, you end up with a minus 7. On the next question, we've got two negatives together here. So a negative multiplied by a negative is a positive. So what we're doing is minus 10 plus 4. On this one, you'd be starting at minus 10 on the number line. So that's well past 0. And this time you're adding a 4. So you need to go positive direction. Just 4 times. So 4 times would be minus 9, minus 8, minus 7. And you end up with a minus 6. So minus 6 is our answer here. On the next question, and I think we'll pause after that then. Two negatives again here in the middle. Negative times a negative will give us a positive again. So on this one we've got 10 plus 11, which I don't think we need to do any number lines on. That is 11. That's a positive if you wish to put in that sign. Pause the video, have a go at this next question, 13 plus minus 3, and see how you get on. Okay, your first step in solving this question, we've been looking at these two signs in the middle. So when you've got a positive multiplied by a negative, it'll give us a negative. So now we rewrite the question, 13 take away 3, and that is a positive 13. We're just lazy about putting it in. Will give us obviously a positive 10. On the next question, if you like, pause the video again, have a go at it and see how you do. Okay, your first step here would have been again, look at these signs here in the middle, they are next to each other. A negative multiplied by negative gives us a positive. So now we rewrite the question, it is minus 2 plus 2. You're £2 in debt. Somebody gives you £2. So now you're at 0. You owe nobody, you have nothing. Again, pause the video if you wish to on the next one. And first step again is focusing in on those middle signs next to each other. So a negative multiplied by a positive is a negative. Minus 18, minus 2. You're at negative 18 in your thermometer. You go negative 2, so you go down another 2, which leaves you at minus 20. For the next one, negative and negative together, or multiplied together I should say, would give us a positive sign. So we've got minus 9 plus 11, and that will give you a positive 2. Pause the video if you wish. I will run through the last two very quickly. In the middle, a negative and a positive will give us a negative. So rewrite it as 17 minus 10, and that will be a 7. Positive if you wish to put the sign in, but it doesn't have to be put in. And finally, 4 minus positive 16. So that negative and positive will combine to give us a negative. 4 take away 16. So you're at 4 on the number line. You want to go negative direction because you're taking away 16. Well, if I go back 4 spaces, that takes me to 0. Leaving with you with another 12 spaces to go back. So it'll be a minus 12. Okay. It's not easy using directed numbers, particularly probably adding and subtracting them. But if you can follow these rules, and these double signs in the middle, get rid of those. Deal with those first, change them into a single sign and rewrite the question. It becomes a lot easier. And try to visualize it. Think about money and debt. Think about your number line. Make sure you're using those number lines. Draw them to help you visualize what's happening. Thank you. Hopefully this was helpful.